Welcome to day 417 of our DSO journey. I'm Ed Kratenstein, and guess who's back? Brian's back. Uh, did you have a good trip to Vegas?
Yeah, a little bit tired, but overall it was good, and I'm back and ready to talk about DSO.
Yeah, so remember these videos are being sponsored by NFT Tech. They are an investor in DSOFi, and the DSOFi app is coming soon to an app store near you, so that's exciting. So Brian, when you're gone, there's lots of ups and downs in the price of DSO and Bitcoin. What do you think about the price right now? Stands at about $14.60 or so, and Bitcoin's at about 30,600.
Yeah, I would guess that we've hit at least a short-term bottom. I think the panic is kind of out of the market right now. People seem to have kind of settled down in the crypto market in general, but I think with DSO we have a lot of positives on the way, and I think that will probably kind of keep a floor under things, probably in the $10 or $11 range. That's just my opinion.
Unless World War III starts, then I think anything's on the table. But again, this isn't investment advice by any means. It's just us giving our opinions. So Open Prosper launched a really cool new tool yesterday, I believe. It's called When Block, and it allows you to see when a certain block's gonna be mined. And it's really useful in this case to predict the hard fork time. The hard fork was supposed to happen on Wednesday sometime, but according to When Block, it is now scheduled for Thursday, May 19th at around 9:28 a.m. Eastern Time. And the way that this feature works is they basically take the average block time of the last 1,000 blocks, which is approximately 3 to 4 days from 3 to 4 days it takes to mine 1,000 blocks. So you take that and then you can kind of predict when a certain block will be mined. And block 130,901 is the hard fork block. So coming soon. It's like, what's today? Today's Tuesday. So in about 2 days from now, a little less than
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah, just under 48 hours. And I'm excited. I think that we've all been waiting for this hard fork for a couple months now. And it's nice to be able to pinpoint it. So thanks to Lil and Open Prosper.
Yeah. And of course, with the hard fork, that means that DAODAO can launch. And we are wondering, like, is DAODAO going to launch on the same day as the hard fork drops? And we have an answer because DAODAO.io now has an official countdown clock running. And according to that countdown, DAODAO is going to launch next Wednesday at around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So a little less than a week after the hard fork will be when DAODAO launches. So far, they've raised about $758,871, which is approximately 758,871,000 DAO coins for DAODAO. Brian and I own some. We bought a couple silver tickets and some bronzes. So we're excited to be part of DAODAO, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and the good thing with the diminished price of DSO, you can actually buy the silver ticket for a lot cheaper. It was $1,000, I think, when we bought them. Now it's significantly less than that. So if you've been waiting to get into DAODAO and you don't have DSO, you can buy the DSO at a discounted price and get into DAODAO at probably a lot cheaper than most people have.
Yeah, and remember, if you don't buy in through these NFTs before DAODAO launches, you're going to be paying approximately 10% more to buy the DAODAO tokens on the DAODAO market. So if you want to get in early, you want to save 10%, you can buy those DAODAO tokens now.
Yeah, and I think that it has the potential of being a great investment, not investment advice, but at these prices, you can own a significant portion of this DAO. And what if DAO became like the next OpenSea, but for DAOs? This could be, this could be one of the best investments ever. But like I said, like this is not investment advice. Anything can happen. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with a legal framework and all of that with DAO. But yeah, I mean, if you're interested in being involved, it doesn't hurt to buy a little bit of the
I
DAO.
got to stop you there because you said it could be one of the best investments, and technically, this isn't an investment because, as Gabby noted, DSO user Gabby, she posted the new DAO legal documents, the terms of service, and also contribution terms. And according to these terms of service, none of these DAOs are actually investments. At least that's how they're looking at it from a legal standpoint. And so we probably don't want to consider these investments like on our show, because
We might want
technically
to
they
just
aren't.
remove that word from our vocabulary, I guess, right?
Yes, so DAO is not a good investment, but DAO could be a good move on your part. But it could
Yeah,
not be. I don't know.
and I like how they're looking at it legally. I think that it's smart what they're doing. Now, I don't know if that gives a whole lot of confidence to people buying into these DAOs, but I think that if they know what they're getting into, I think it's not a bad setup. And the way they're using the Seychelles government, basically they're creating these entities in Seychelles, and allowing kind of like an umbrella over those creating DAOs. I like that idea, and I think that we're in this gray area where we don't know where the SEC is going to fall on certain things. So doing it this way and kind of making sure they have the right wording from a legal standpoint is important.
Yeah, and like you said, they have these documents that are kind of meant to protect the DAO creator. But at the same time, I think it's just something you got to look at and you should definitely read. And like Gabby posted 2 documents. I'm also including the links above this video on DSO, below this video on YouTube for you to read. And the terms of service, I would just want to cover some of the things that they mention. And I'd like to get some of the feedback from the community on this, whether you think it's good or not. So you have to agree that you are not acquiring DAO coins as an investment. So when you're agree to terms of service, you're agreeing it's not an investment, and you have no expectation of economic benefit or profit as you hold the coins. So holding the coins is not an investment. Is not you don't have any expectations to profit off of it. You're also acquiring DAO coins for your own use and not with the view to sell the DAO coins to anyone else. This is kind of interesting since, MegaSwap's also launching in unison with DAO, and MegaSwap's essentially an order book, so to buy and sell DAO coins. But again, legally, this is how they have to put it out there in order to protect the DAO creators. What's your feedback on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just kind of checking the boxes and making sure that from a legal standpoint, everything's in place. It, I think it's kind of the way to go about it, so that the investors and the creators of these DAOs are kind of on the same page, but they understand that maybe some of this is just legal jargon to protect the underlying DAO.
Well, and technically the DAOs are protected. Like you're not going to be able to sue a DAO over this. I mean, you could attempt to sue them, but I would assume the courts will throw it out because you agree to these terms of service. So what it comes down to is the reputation of the DAO creators. If somebody creates a DAO, they're putting their reputation on the line. Sure, maybe they don't have to worry about, like if the DAO fails, they're going to pay you back, but they do have to realize that if the DAO fails, their reputation is going to take a hit.
I think that it's going to really add importance to some sort of verification system. Being able to verify and kind of show that these people are who they say they are is going to be important. And I think building a reputation by having posts and being active on DSO is going to be even more important if you want to create a DAO. Because if you just come on to DSO and you say, hey, I want to create a DAO, nobody knows me, nobody's going to be able to trust you because of these legal frameworks that are put in place. You got to kind of just trust the person rather than what might be protecting you from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, so covering some more of the terms, you also agree that you're solely and entirely responsible for compliance with all laws and regulations that may apply to you. So you're responsible for any laws that apply to yourself. There's also limitation of liability, which kind of like, I feel like takes the place of an LLC, which reads, under no circumstances shall the community be liable to you for any indirect, punitive, incidental, special, consequential, or exemplary damages. So it's basically saying that co-owners of the DAO or community members are not responsible for anything. So you're taking all those responsibilities to yourself.
Yeah, and that was a concern with DAOs. I know a lot of people I spoke to said, yeah, but if one person in the DAO wanted to sue everybody else, it was maybe possible. And that gets scary because if you own the DAO coin, you don't want to be sued for something that the creator of the DAO has done. And I think that's definitely something that needs to be in place. A line like that. Of course, not everybody's going to agree.
Yeah, and any DAO that starts on DAODAO is going to have these basically as their bylaws in a sense. So governing law, according to the terms of service, you agree that the laws of the Republic of Seychelles, without regard to principles of conflict of laws, govern this agreement and any dispute between you and the community. So we're going by the laws of Seychelles. Uh, you know, if there is a dispute, it's going to be the courts in Seychelles that ultimately determine the outcome.
Yeah, and just note, Google it if you want, but the government of Seychelles is really lax on crypto laws, on laws around DAOs and all of that.
So let's move on to the contribution terms. And I want to say that contribution terms and terms of service are very, very similar. Contribution terms are for those who are buying DAO coins, where the terms of service is like kind of overarching document covering everything. But contribution terms, like I said, very similar. Read, by investing in DAO coins, you agree to these DAO contribution terms. And some of those terms include DAO coins on exchanges, through purchase, etc., or for consumptive use only. So DAO coins you buy on exchanges, you're not supposed to view them as an investment. You're just viewing them as consumption. You're consuming the DAO coins.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's legal jargon to kind of protect people. I'm sure there's going to be those who are buying these DAOs as investments. They view them as investments, and not.
But they're
just
not
as
investment.
kind of,
They're not investments.
right,
They are not investments.
right. But I mean, these protective terms, I think they're important. I I think it's obvious that people are going to view them in other ways.
You agree there is no expectation of profit from any contribution or acquisition of DAO coins. So you have to agree to that. Whether that's what you're thinking in your head or not, we can't decide that for you. But
Yeah,
you agree that you're not expecting it.
I mean, there's going to be plenty of DAOs that the purpose of buying a DAO coin is not to profit. So I think that's definitely a sector of the market. But of course, there's going to be other DAOs that people are going to want to profit off of. But with this legal framework, I think that at least we have these kind of legal parts in place for whatever happens.
You agree that all contributions are charitable in nature and do not constitute an investment in money. Again, going back to this is not an investment. This is a charity. The money you're giving is going for a charitable cause to help build up this DAO. You're not expecting to get that money back to you. You're giving that money up. You're basically releasing it.
Yeah, I mean, just goes along with everything else. I think that it's just a legal framework, and it's important that we have this stuff.
Yeah, so here's an interesting one. Any promises or guarantees made outside of this agreement are null and void and superseded by this agreement. So Brian, he decides to open a DAO to build the next Twitter. And he's like, this is the best investment. You're going to put your money in here and it's going to explode. Sorry, but it's superseded by this agreement where you say, you don't have any expectation of profits. Brian guarantees this is going to be a next great thing, guaranteed. And sorry, his guarantee doesn't mean anything because it's been nulled and voided by this superseded agreement that you've agreed to.
Right, and like I said before, this is why verification is so important and building up a reputation. Because if you do say something like this and you really want somebody to believe you about it, that they don't really have any legal backing to believe you, and they're not protected in any way. So it's really a reputational thing.
Now, here's one that I think is going to be a little difficult for people wanting to raise money for a business on DAODAO. You acknowledge you are not acquiring any equity or other ownership or legal interest in the DAO or community. So you're not purchasing equity. company XYZ, we're going to raise money. We're not going to go through venture capitalists. We're going to go through a DAO. But you're not actually acquiring equity in the company. There's going to be ways around this. Companies can create outside contracts, and these outside contracts can provide you equity. So, maybe by the DAO terms of service, you don't have any equity, but the company could create another means to offer you equity. And I think that's something we will see in the future, especially from companies that want to raise equity. They could set up an LLC in a certain state that allows it, like I think is Wyoming, or they could do something in the Seychelles, or they could do something in the Cayman Islands and create a DAO LLC, and then anybody who buys the DAO coins would actually become part of that DAO LLC's ownership.
Yeah, so I mean the DAO contract or buying the DAO coins might not be actually what ties you to the equity, but a separate contract away from the DAO could do that. And as long as you linked it to it, kind of serves the same purpose.
But we do have that superseding thing, which is going to be a little weird. So you probably need to have some way around that. But I guess if you have a contract for a company and your name's on it, it's going to be pretty hard to say, oh, he doesn't really own it. Well, how do you see?
And I think that this does bring up a little bit of a concern, and that is that you're going to have this oversupply of DAOs being created, and because of some of these legal frameworks, you might not have the demand to buy into the DAOs just because it is favoring the DAO creators so much. But I think that if everything works out like the core team hopes, I think we'll bring on a lot of really awesome DAOs, and if just a few of those work out, that's going to drive a lot of more people to DeSo who might be interested in other DAOs. So it's kind of the chicken before the egg thing. You have the supply, you hope the supply of DAOs kind of attracts a bunch of more DeSo users, and then they can kind of fill in the demand for the rest of the DAOs. So
this is an evolving process. Like this legal framework's going to evolve as well as time goes on, I think. So let's move on. Natter had a suggestion for a Takeoff DAO. And the idea of this DAO is to raise enough money to buy an influential stake in United Airlines so that we can revert all the outdated policies. And he said it can have a backup plan if they don't raise enough to buy United Airlines. You could maybe settle for Spirit Airlines.
Yeah, and actually JetBlue and Spirit, JetBlue's trying to do a hostile takeover of Spirit right now. So the timing of this is kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think there could be DAOs that form to try and buy out companies. And of course, you're going to need a vast demand for such a DAO in order to actually raise the amount of money needed. I think Spirit's in the billions of dollars. But I think that it could bring the attention, and the media attention could actually drive further demand for DAOs. And I think the ecosystem could evolve that way.
Yeah, and I hate Spirit Airlines. I had a major issue with them canceling one of my flights and refusing to reimburse me, and then charging me twice for the flight I had to rebook. It's like I'm still in a huge dispute with my credit card company over that. But anyhow, let's move on. Elon Musk. What's going on with Elon Musk? So yesterday, he asked Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal, how do advertisers know that what they're getting for their money? The system fundamental to the financial health of Twitter. So this was in response to Agrawal saying that they had an internal review of spam accounts and bots and stuff, and they found that only about 5% of monthly or daily active users are spam accounts. Elon doesn't think this is right. He believes that it's closer to 20%, maybe even more than 20%, and this is kind of holding him back from his purchase of Twitter. Thanks to Flanagan, by the way, for posting a really great video on chain of Elon being interviewed on the All In podcast. So it was definitely should watch it. I'm sharing the link here. It's an hour and 29 minutes. I watched the whole thing, and it was fascinating understanding what Elon's thinking. They asked him what the chances that this deal actually gets done, and he said he's still waiting for a logical explanation that Twitter refuses to tell him. So, I don't know. I think maybe he saw what's happening to the market, and he's like, I need an out, and maybe he wants to lower the price, or maybe he's deciding maybe he wants to move in another direction.
It's really interesting because the Twitter stock is actually under the price it was prior to Elon making the offer. So basically, the premium added to the stock after the offer was put in is totally erased, and the stock's trading around $37 when the offer was $54.20. So clearly the market thinks that Elon's backing out of this or going to greatly reduce his offer price, which I think is what he's doing, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was what he had planned from the very start.
Yeah, so Flanagan also mentioned if you watch this video, the All In podcast, at the 29-minute mark, Elon Musk essentially says that we need an app that is very much like DeSo. He doesn't say that in those terms, but what he says, he talks about Wechat in China. And Wechat is this app where you can kind of chat with people, make posts, and you can also pay them directly. And he said most of China uses this app, and we don't really have anything like that here in America. So he said, we need something like that. He said it's important for content creators to have a revenue share, which, DeSo does that. But he did say it doesn't have to happen on Twitter. It could be started from scratch somewhere. And then he said it's either convert Twitter to that or start something new. And that his default inclination is to start things from scratch. So perhaps he's like backtracking on the idea of buying Twitter and contemplating the idea of starting something from scratch. Who knows?
Yeah, and I agree that starting from something from scratch would probably be the better idea, because not only can he spend less. So say he actually wanted to take $44 billion and spend it on starting up a new company. He doesn't even need that, because his name recognition and the media buzz that will kind of circle whatever he does, I think is in the billions of value. I mean, you kind of see what Trump did with Truth Social, and he got a lot of media engagement, and that drove people to Truth Social. But I think Elon would be even bigger because it would appeal to a wider audience worldwide.
Yeah, and I mean, we just had to wait and see what happens. It would be amazing if he built something on DeSo. I mean, I don't think DeSo's in his sights right now, but perhaps in the future it will be. Maybe if he doesn't buy Twitter, maybe a takeover DAO can end up buying Twitter, or at least a portion of it. So what were the top hashtags of the last 24 hours, Brian? Do you have those in front of you?
Yeah, the top hashtags were number one was DeSo, followed by photography, followed by music, BitClout OG, new one, and NFT.
It's not a new one, Brian. You just
Well, a
weren't
new
here for
one
the last several days.
since I've been back.
All right, so what were the top diamonded creators according to Altum Base in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, thanks to Altum Base for creating this list. But number one was Stargazer. We were number two. I guess when I was gone, Ed made some pretty good posts. The Social World was number three, followed by Mashalin, Happy Rabbit, Marshalosa, Six, Sean Slater, Goldberry, and Photographer's Corner. So congrats to all of them.
And Open Prosper's welcome back page is somebody I want to welcome back, and that's Michael D. Simmons. He was gone for 53 days. He's a serial entrepreneur and contributor for Time, Fortune, Forbes, and Harvard Business Review. He replied to a post from Dharmesh, and he said that he wonders if there should be a priority on community development with developers. And he's referring to a post made by Yarrow, who is a really successful entrepreneur and the co-founder of Inbox Done. And Yarrow is building on DeSo. He's building an app called Candid _ on DeSo. But he apparently had a really difficult time connecting with core team on getting questions answered and whatnot. But I mean, it's an interesting question. I do think they need to give a lot of attention to developers. I do think they have been, but I think things have slowed up with the Octane Fund kind of being a little bit of a mess right now. I'm looking forward to Candid. I want to see what that is, because it seems like it could be a really, really awesome app.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's two community events today, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, which is past the time we're posting this video. Crypto Talks with Darian Parrish on Chime In. And at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, it's a DeSo meetup in VR alt space with Wildography, Daryl Gold. And that's on Alt VR. And before we close out, I just want to say, we're trying to do this better sound setup, better lighting and video setup. Let us know what you think. Brian, did you hear any static or anything?
I haven't heard any static.
I heard a little bit on your end today, just slightly, not very much. But let us know what you think. What can we do better? Maybe Brian should get one of the mics I have. The lighting, I think Brian's lighting's real good. I have some weird, awkward shadows behind me. I don't know. Can I fix those somehow? Anyhow, it was great talking to you, everybody, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.